Welcome. Hi, Tom.
So you've retired? I'm so jealous.
People keep saying retired. I'm not old enough to retire. I just
No,
quit
you're
my
not.
job.
Well,
Quit my job.
you have, yes, left your previous position.
After 26 years.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
It
It was time.
Do they know what they're gonna do yet?
Oh, they hired somebody.
Yeah.
There was, luckily there was an overlap,
That's
so I could. For you.
When
They'll be.
was this official? I feel like I've been out of the loop.
I decided in May, and yeah, so I kind of. Yeah, I told my boss at the end of May, I think. So I gave them lots of support.
Yeah.
Are you okay, Cheryl? Do you have a migraine?
No, I just have.
No, I'm fine.
Joe Winia said he was planning to attend virtually, but
Mhm.
I am not seeing him there yet. But
Over here, I was thinking
I-
give them a ride.
I got it open. Yeah.
okay, and then I just asked since I am recording and my mic is live, please speak up. And I'm looking. I'm not sure how much in the future this is all going to continue. I'm looking at getting us a multi-microphone setup that could plug into one computer and everybody have their own mic. They're not overly cheap, but not overly expensive. And then if we're gonna, whether it's here or in the council conference room,
Whatever.
we could set that up so that we don't have everybody yell into the microphone.
But if we aren't yelling today and you can hear it in the recording, and we won't know until you check the recording.
You don't know.
Well, last time we all logged into the Zoom, that was part of the problem. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not logged into the Zoom.
So, and I think he is here.
Is there somebody to point people this way in case Any member of the public arrives.
There's the agenda's posted up front and Lee's at the front desk. So
Lisa?
Oh, Lee was, okay. He was on his way there when I walked in.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
Hey,
Good question.
come into what looks like an empty building.
I didn't know.
Very good. That's the front part is so important to make
We
sure.
used
that
to have
people
all our
feel
meetings
welcome.
here.
In this room, I've never been in this room.
This is the storage / conference room.
yeah, I apologize. We need to get with the Records Commission and
And-
digitize and destroy and
permanent.
permanently store
Yeah.
some stuff.
Okay. So is everybody ready? Okay. Good morning, Monroe County. I'd like to call to order the September 2nd meeting of the Monroe County Solid Waste Management District's Executive Committee of the Board of Directors. We have a full complement of Executive Committee members here, as well as our Director and Comptroller. And we have Mr. Joe Winia of the CAC with us virtually on Zoom.
Can I, Joe, can I ask you real fast? Could you hear Cheryl right there?
Yes, everything sounds very good and looks very good as well from here.
Oh, wait. I gotta turn my speakers on, sorry. Okay, let's try that again.
All right, am I live?
Yes,
Okay, yes, everything sounded very good and looks very good from here. Thank
okay, very good.
Great.
you for checking in.
You're a proofreader.
Okay, so do we need to say, do I need to say I do? Okay, I've just not been through this process before.
Okay, so we need a formal roll call
Munson,
here.
Piedmont Smith,
Here.
Githens.
Mostly here.
All are present.
Okay, so we have a stack of minutes to get through. And Isabel, were you able to review the executive committee, executive session minutes?
Yes.
Okay. So we just start with our approvals for the item number 2 on the agenda.
The August 1st Executive Committee meeting.
Mhm.
Let me just see something here. August 1st EC. Okay, yes, I did look at those.
Okay, thank you.
I move approval of the Executive Committee meeting minutes of August 1st, 2022.
Thank you. Any comments or corrections on the minutes?
Well, I put a few minor corrections
Okay.
in the group, in the
Dropbox.
Dropbox.
Okay, I haven't seen those, but we'll address those.
So this stands for the whatever is in Dropbox.
Yes,
Okay. Could we have a roll call on the minutes, please?
Piedmont Smith,
Yes.
Githens,
Yes.
Munson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Next.
I move approval of the Executive Committee executive session minutes of August 1st, 2022, of 6 p.m. and of 7 p.m. Do those together?
You can.
Yes. Thank you. Did you have any corrections to
No.
those? They were very short. I
Yes.
thought you would breeze through them. Okay, maybe we have a roll call.
Githens,
Yes.
Munson,
Yes.
Piedmont Smith,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay. Now the Board of Directors. Oh no, that's another executive session minute. Minutes of August 11th. Okay.
May I open it real quick?
Please.
I haven't looked at it.
Oh, you haven't looked at it. Okay.
Sorry,
I'm
I
sorry.
didn't register that I was supposed to do that one. So this was just, okay.
I'm opening
Called
it.
order, received information on prospective candidate. Yeah. Okay, I move approval of the Board of Directors executive session minutes from Thursday, August 11th, 2022.
Thank you. Any corrections or comments? May we have a roll call vote, please?
Munson,
Yes.
Piedmont Smith,
Yes.
Githens.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Hey, next, number 6.
I move approval of the Board of Director meeting minutes of August 11th, 2022. No, I move that we forward those to the full
Yes.
board for approval.
Yes,
I will,
thank you.
Ms. Munson did review those and provided some grammatical and spelling corrections that have been
Typos, we just call them typos.
incorporated into the version prepared to go to the board.
Okay. But I have also made a few.
Okay, we can make
This
more.
morning,
This-
We
half an
can
hour ago.
You caught some more. Good for you.
And I had one that was kind of,
They were very long.
I only got through half, but anyway, there was one that, I had a question on.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, so this is, page 3 of the minutes under the 2023 proposed budgets.
Give me just a second. Get to them.
I'm looking. Oh, this is not the right one.
It's, where the health insurance coverage was discussed. So under budgets,
Did I get that?
A, and then at the third paragraph. So it's the very bottom of page 3.
Okay,
2 health insurance coverage options.
Yeah.
Boy, I really struggled with this too.
Yeah, so I didn't understand Cheryl's correction or addition, where our existing coverage policy with options for the number of people to be covered. And a
Mhm.
second option that includes a health savings account that employees may desire to have. And what does that mean with options for the number of people to be covered?
Well, there are options. There's a single individual, it's a the employee and spouse.
But those
It's a
same
family.
options exist for the HSA policy.
yes.
And the-
So it makes it sound like the
Okay.
second option doesn't have, spouse. dependent.
That's what we have to do is add it into the HSA bit with
We call it a
how about-
PPO and an HSA. That's what those two options are.
Yes, well, yeah.
I
What
don't
we,
know if you use
what we
that
current,
term.
well,
Yeah,
I don't
we
know that
don't.
we didn't use that at the meeting, but yes,
No.
our current coverage option is technically a PPO.
Right. How about we call it, we have one set of options for the number of people to be covered and a second set of options that include a health savings account that employees may desire to have. Because they
That
are
still
options.
doesn't make sense to me
I was
because,
just
See.
going with what was there.
because yeah, and I don't have the reporting obviously, but both the PPO option, which was referred to as the current type of insurance, and the HSA option have the possibility to add your spouse or your dependents
Okay.
to the plan.
Well, then what we can do is just make
Yeah.
option singular and take out number of people to be covered.
We can just say our existing coverage policy and a second option that includes the health savings.
We can do that.
That's what it originally said. Isn't it?
Yeah.
And it was, when talking about with with options, I thought that was the option that was being described, and I'm sorry, I messed that up.
It was a little confusing.
So we just, so our
We
existing,
could just go back to what you have.
do we want to say our existing coverage policy or just our existing policy? So our existing policy and a second option that includes a health savings account,
Period.
period.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then And there are just a few other little things that I
Good.
fixed.
Just typo grammatical stuff. Okay.
So I thought it was just confusing, and that's why I was trying to explain the coverage there, what the options were.
Okay,
Okay,
so there's a motion on the table to forward as corrected
Okay.
to the board.
mhm,
In a second.
Oh, yes,
In a-
I did.
Okay.
Mhm.
mhm.
Are we ready for a vote?
Please,
Piedmont Smith,
Yes,
Githens.
Yes.
Munson,
yes.
motion passes.
Okay, now we get to hear from our new controller, Holly DeWar,
Okay.
for your report.
you have one.
We talked about this earlier. There's not really a whole lot of.
I don't have a lot to report.
but, uh,
I have done a lot of learning and training, and next week will be a little bit intense, and I'm looking forward to that because we have a lot to do to move on. Connie is one of your greatest assets here. So know that she's taught me a lot. I am utilizing the skills that I have had for 25 years to learn how to do it to the best of my ability here. And I'm very happy to be here. I don't know if that's what you were looking for, but
That is good for a first report, I would say.
I think so too.
You found the bathroom and.
Yeah. Got a computer.
yep.
So exactly how many days have you been on board? I've forgotten.
I started on what, the
This is the end of the second
22nd
week.
of August.
Mhm. So why is next week going to be hard?
Oh, I shouldn't have said, busy, more
Busy.
busy. We have a lot of things.
Monday's the holiday,
happening.
payroll, end of the month reconciliation, claims to be paid.
There you go, end of the month.
Yes.
Is our board meeting next Thursday?
Yes.
And then there's that.
Yes, which does bring up something I want to discuss during the controller portion, the cash flows. Because packet would normally go out today,
Mhm.
but we're at the end of the month. I was able to do the cash flows for everything but the operating account, and I'm not going to be able to do that without Connie, and Holly is not quite in a position yet to do that because this is her first end of the month.
So we can just
So.
have that at the meeting.
So for the packet, we can put what I have done, the four that I have done in there, with a memo that operating will be provided as soon as possible in advance of the meeting, or we can do none of them and provide them all on Tuesday when Connie gets that done.
I think I would go with the latter to make it easier on all of you.
Just
and-
put a memo in there that
Yeah,
cash flows will be provided as soon as via
It's-
email, as soon as possible,
yeah,
once the month reconciliation is complete.
because of our timing on this and the holiday. And everything.
Okay. But I didn't want to wait until Tuesday to get the full packet out.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Good.
So. Not that there's a whole lot in it,
Yeah,
unless,
but-
I
unless,
think it's
unless we
gonna-
come up with something exciting
I think
today.
It's gonna be a light meeting.
Well, and it does need to be, because we got to get out of there for the council
Yes,
budget
we
hearing.
do.
So we got about, we have
Immediately
At-
after.
at 5, so we,
And there's a little setup needed, but I'm
Yeah.
hoping that the setup will take place and that we will just come in and flow within the setup.
Dina said that the room will already be set up for the
Okay.
budget hearing, and we'll just have to accommodate that setup, which should be fine. Um,
I will be out of town next Thursday.
well, shame on you.
I'm sorry, there's a conference and I forgot about the conflict.
These people quit their job and they just think they can go
I
do whatever they
know.
want.
But she's going to a
I'm
conference.
going to a city council related conference.
Oh, but city.
Well-
I'm not going home to
And again, unless one of you have something, or I don't anticipate a heavy agenda, anything
think it's-
significant on the agenda.
Will you have quorum?
Well, the minutes is, and the payroll and claims is all that's the only action items at this point that would be on the
Right.
agenda unless we come up with something else today. And I don't think we need to do. We have on the agenda to discuss the proposed new positions, but the board doesn't need to take any action on them
Right.
next Thursday.
Mhm.
And like I said, we need to be done and then out of there by about 4:45.
Mhm.
Or we'll have
But I think
council
we
members
will.
breathing down our neck.
Yeah, I apologize 'cause I missed- I don't
Who would read those, who would read the minutes with a eagle eye if you were kicked off?
Well. Technically, you can't be. All they could do is request that the city council appoint somebody else, but the city council could say, no, you're stuck with it.
So, okay, well, the new positions are something we should talk about today to try and get as much as ready for the meeting as possible.
Yes, I think that we should have, at least a draft job description for the October board meeting for the board to look at, because the salary ordinance generally is presented in November. In case there's any problems or questions, we can always bring it back in December. So we should at least have a job description for them to look at and make comments on before they see the salary ordinance that will have that job in it.
But coming into just a blank slate is, for the board members, are we going to just ask them to suggest what they think should be aspects of the new position?
Well-
The new positions and
I think we
and
should
get
have
the
a draft.
feedback.
I envisioned that we would have a draft.
Yeah,
So
starting from
Oh, that's
scratch.
good. I know.
Joe, I
I
apologize and
didn't know there was a draft.
well, there's not, but I can scan these and send them to you real fast if you would like, but I did a little Google search and found some job postings for waste reduction specialist positions. So,
That'd be great if you could. Send
So
them
do you-
quickly to Joe.
Joe, you want me to scan these and send them to you quickly?
I would actually, that would be great to
Okay.
be able to see them. Either a photo would be fine as well, if that's more convenient for you to take pictures.
I can scan them and give them to you here. Give me just a couple minutes.
Perfect. Thank you, Tom.
Lucky Washington State, they were able to do a polystyrene bin.
Really?
I wish we could do that.
Yeah. My daughter visited for 2 weeks. She said, I can't believe Bloomington doesn't recycle this and that and this and that. Because New York is really very progressive.
Okay, on their way, Joe. It's just one PDF file, but there's a total of 4 different, like they're job postings I pulled off the internet for positions that sounded similar to what I thought we were proposing here.
Got it. It just arrived. Thank you again.
So we do need to make reference to the 5-year plan.
Yes. And I thought these would be good to reference for discussion today and, pull out duties, responsibilities, qualifications that we might think would be appropriate for what we're proposing. And again, I'm happy to pull a draft together and we can tweak that via email or Dropbox between now and the October or the next executive committee meeting.
So the goal would be to have something to the full board in the October meeting.
Yeah, I think because that would give them an opportunity to comment on it, and if any revisions are necessary out of that before everybody's comfortable approving a salary ordinance with the position in it, that would give me time to make those changes.
The salary ordinance would normally come in November.
And we do, I tried to do the salary ordinance in the holiday schedule at the November meeting, so that if there's any problems or questions, we can make changes and come back in December. And not be having to retroactively approve something in January.
I'm just reading the one from Oregon. It would be nice to know what something like an extended producer responsibility is and things like that. It's hard to
Mhm.
get some of the jargon and here's unfamiliar to me.
Well, that can be researched and
Yeah, I was just there.
Really? Funny.
Jane.
But you could actually ask for that job description, the copy of that job description.
yes.
Because
Yeah,
the,
and I apologize. This was something I didn't get around to doing until this morning. So I went to the job postings, which give basic qualifications, duties, responsibilities, and yeah, and we can always always record, get more in depth with the people that have posted the job. Now, some of these, and I did at least 2 of these are closed postings, but they
Mhm.
filled the position or decided not to fill it.
Just an idea.
But then the one from San Mateo, California, is pretty substantial posting.
I haven't gotten to that either. The California.
Oh, yeah, it's the last one.
California just went with zero emissions by
Let's see what we have.
2045. So, I mean,
They're on the ball over there.
Yep, they definitely are.
Kenny, where was in the Oregon one?
It says about the position, the first paragraph. 5th line, including extended producer responsibility.
When that's all capitalized too.
Yeah.
So. We can research that.
The Oregon one is a pretty heavy duty position too,
Mhm.
doing scientific reports. Engineering stuff.
Yeah, and again, I did this,
Yeah.
fairly quickly
Right,
this
right.
morning, but I was surprised.
Yeah, they were there.
Just that how many of them are out there with titles that are waste reduction specialist or very similar. So there's certainly a lot more things that we could go and pull and review and a reference as we pull our job description
Mhm.
together.
This one has a professional engineering kind of designation too, and
The Oregon one?
yeah, and professional land surveyor.
Mhm.
Wow.
GIS
the-
stuff.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that's,
So that's,
that sounds like it's their lead person on some of this, and if it's for Eugene, that's a much larger metropolitan area than,
Lane County is huge.
yeah.
Mhm.
So it might be worth moving to Oregon.
I'll just cross my mind.
Or maybe we just, the county does the GIS and has survey department. Maybe the county just creates this position and has them work for us.
We have a GIS person.
That doesn't say, well, the city's trying to hire one.
We've had a lot of turnover in that position.
Yeah.
So.
I think it's going to, I think it's in a good place, actually. for the surveyor?
I don't.
You don't think so? Why? You think it needs to be? planning?
We'll talk outside.
And I guess I think one other thing that, and I'm not real sure how to approach or where the
Hmm.
appropriate place to discuss is, but going back to some of Ms. Thomas's comments at the board meeting about this position and the potential overlap with our existing outreach position. She asked us to look, and so that we need to clearly draw that distinction or make the determination that there's not enough of a distinction. And then do we want to consider redefining or redirecting our current outreach efforts and outreach position toward that 5-year plan goals and objectives? I gathered that's kind of where she was going with her comment.
Well, yeah, I thought about it at the meeting and I thought about it since. And I think the current position handling the webinars and the other media plus the schools, and it could be broadened to clubs as well. Groups.
Yeah.
Is certainly a full-time position.
I think in order to accomplish what I imagine we're looking for out of this position with current staffing, you're going to give up a lot of what we currently do.
Yes. No,
And I'm not.
it's not meeting the 5-year plan.
And I'm not sure that we want to give up or make those concessions with what are a lot of our current efforts, some of which are long-standing and popular in the community. I'm not sure that's a direction that we want to go. But it's been put out there, so we need to assess that question or address that question or that issue that's been raised.
So we will need to have a very detailed list of the duties of the current outreach specialist.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you could provide us
Okay.
that so that we can
So we can start.
The job description.
and
the
make it
job
clear
Mhm.
how this is going to.
And that might be her job description, but we need to see how it meshes with reality
Right.
too. Her job description may need to be updated.
And yeah, maybe we do tweak that and, have one position focus on true education, whether it's in the schools or with community groups, doing webinars and workshops and stuff.
Mhm.
And then this position, which is more toward the 5-year plan and working out in the community with generators to reduce waste.
That'd be the focus of this position. I think, is to really focus, not really home in on the waste reduction and targeting the entities that produce the most waste. So not so much individual households, but bigger entities.
Right. And I think where some of the confusion or potential overlap is, and it's very clear in the plan that in order to accomplish that requires education and outreach, but it's a focused on dealing with this entity and what their processes and their generation is, and how do we make those reductions versus being doing a composting workshop or webinar, or being out in the schools and just doing a broad scope view of what we can do to reduce waste and how that positively impacts the environment, which is what a lot of our current efforts are. Like I said, I'm not sure that we want to give those up, but this position needs to be much more focused on the generators and what entity A and entity B and entity C can do to reduce their waste generation.
And actually the whole topic and discussion needs to be raised within the community. It's not out there with the service groups like it needs to be.
Mhm.
Various service organizations. the Chamber of Commerce certainly could have at least one program a year dealing with waste reduction, so.
Well, and I think more than that, direct dialogue
With the,
and programs with businesses,
Mhm.
with the school corporations, with IU Health, you know,
yeah.
Baxter, whatever major employers.
Even Smithville and
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
all kinds of things. That we
so I mean, I
separate
think
these.
the kind of general clubs and even Chamber of Commerce, that sort of thing is sort of being done by the current outreach and education specialist. I view this position more
By Ms.
as,
Corporal?
well, she's done some workshops, like Tom said,
Mhm.
since the
She's done some
pandemic.
workshops,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what I'm envisioning more is this
Something
person would go and talk to somebody at Baxter or at
Right,
Yeah.
dealing
Cook or at
specifically with,
MCCSC.
with,
and
yeah, with
say,
entity A and,
Okay.
yeah. that
"You-
We're gonna
here's
focus,
your waste production.
here's, yeah. Here's the broad general thing. This is, we can, home or business, we can all do this stuff and have that impact.
Yeah.
But now we're gonna focus on you and your processes and what can you do? to
Think about all the
reduce.
cafeteria food that just goes in the landfill from the schools, I
Mhm.
mean, it's
It's
huge.
just-
Also, this is help reduce their cost.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Right, but the schools are a big obvious one, but the hospital, Cook has a big cafeteria.
But
I mean-
they work with.
Catalent, they probably have,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
gigantic.
I mean, and Earth Keepers is out there. I know they're in the Cook, they're in the schools now, because
Mhm.
when I pull up the lunch menus to figure out who's taking lunch what day this week, there's Earth Keepers logo is on the MCCSC
Which
school
is great.
menu
Does
page.
that mean that they
So-
compost in some of the schools or
Uh,
they're just
I
advertising?
don't, Joe, do you know what Brian and Andrea are doing with MCCSC?
Yes, they are onboarding the schools for food waste collection presently. That's why their logo appears on the menus.
So they're just getting this started and,
Correct.
okay. But yeah, but
Good.
so they're out there and we want to be conscious of what they're doing and work in conjunction with them, not, to go in and trying to work at, certainly a competition, but, or, getting people moving in a different direction than what's already available that they're doing.
To that, I will note that I will say that it is an Earth Keeper's values and policy that the waste reduction is the ultimate goal. There will always be material that is required for hauling. I mean, kids aren't going to be eating their banana peels at school, so that will still need to be collected. But if there's like a food waste reduction, that could be, an effort that could be provided by the district that Earth Keepers is not providing, even though they're servicing the facility, I think it would still be really valuable to have that initiative taking place in tandem so that there would be even less to haul, because that's really the ultimate goal, is to do everything as sustainably as possible. And then the reduction is the most effective way to do that. I don't think that would be in conflict with the existing services that are provided by Earth Keepers.
Well, I guess, and yeah, and hearing that, what comes to mind for this position is, in addition to working with the industry or the organization, and whether it's Earth Keepers, Republic, Rumpke, working with existing service providers to augment, enhance, or expand on what's currently available to help with the reduction efforts.
Well, and also reducing food waste at the source. So in the
Right.
MCCSC cafeterias, how much is just going in the waste before it, in the waste bucket before?
Right.
They-
Don't cook for 200 if only 100 are eating.
Yeah. Or are there ways you can use this part of the, I don't know, the
Yeah,
carrot or
they-
whatever?
They don't make or serve soup, unfortunately.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
that's the biggie.
How can you
If
use
you could.
leftovers?
Soup.
But yeah, just at that level as well, not just post-production.
I know that the menu options are a lot different than when you and I were at South. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Probably
Because I'm looking at them every week. They get stir fry.
Whoa,
Pizza.
we never had that
There's
kind
always
of good
pizza.
stuff.
Yeah,
They're
they,
not feeding pizza,
they would, but
but
yeah,
it sounds like they're changing for the better, is what you're saying.
well, I haven't tried it. I
Or-
don't know what it tastes like, but
But it's more varied.
it's more varied. In some instances,
just
maybe
tater
even a
tots.
little more exotic. So, but
Mm.
they certainly have more options on the menu than
But
when I
what
was
do
in
they,
school.
what do they serve the food in is
That
the
also-
biggie.
I don't
Very
know.
big,
I'll have to ask my kids.
okay? But I don't think they're washable container dishes.
Probably not.
That I don't, I mean, I know they still have the big plastic trays, but then you put all your plates on. Now, are those plates
Please ask your
reusable? Are
kids.
they styrofoam? Or what, are they compostable plastic? What are those?
Yeah.
What are they
Hopefully
serving the
not.
actual dish on?
They used to have the trays with the little
Divots.
compartments.
Yes.
Yeah.
in them, and
Which-
so that was what got washed.
Yeah,
You know, that, if I may, that brings up a good point that I was thinking about when reading through these job descriptions. I got through most of them, and some of them define that the position actually does like the program creation, and others are described that it just does like the coordination and delivers the information that's provided by the employer. So things like that in terms of this particular discussion, if we were to say the encouragement or incentivizing of using reusable materials versus compostable materials, is that something that we should consider at the discretion of this position to determine and to make those sort of calls? Or is that something that will be decided by the district or already defined in a 5-year plan? And then this position will just sort of carry out what's already been described. And maybe the big difference that I've seen between the descriptions provided was the first one, the Washington State, was really sort of what I had imagined it being, where it was just a lot about coordination and a lot about communication, more so than actually defining the decisions that would be made. That was an element that I, in reading these, thought would be interesting to discuss, to hear your thoughts as well, in terms of the maybe amount of authority or autonomy that the position would have in creating programs versus just coordinating and outreach, reaching out.
But I think, Joseph, this is Penny. Also, we don't know, as the latest discussion has shown, we don't know, like at Bloomington High School South, whether they're using stuff to serve the food that's oh, never mind.
Compostable, yes.
compostable.
Yeah, thank you. We should be gathering that kind of information, and that
Mhm.
should be the
Mhm.
initial part of what I think this position should be doing, and it would
Mhm.
fit with the companies as well as the schools. Even when there are functions like when I go out to the Ellisville Chamber of Commerce,
Yes,
that's exactly the kind of things that you're talking about, their luncheons and stuff.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that
I
is-
think that this position, I don't see that we as a board, or even the staff of the district currently have enough information to say, this is what you should push when you talk to businesses and
Right,
public schools,
because we don't.
because we don't know yet. So that
Mhm.
the one of the first, priorities of this position would be to come up with policy recommendations.
Gather the information. and
Yeah,
make policy
yeah.
recommendations, yeah.
First, get the data. and
Yeah.
then-
Yeah, I agree with Penny that, yeah, and Isabel, that the information gathering, because we don't have a lot of that information. And then beyond that, I think that, as a new position that we're sitting here trying to define, this is a position that's going to evolve over time.
Yeah.
And, as we gather information and
It
figure
won't
out,
be successful if it doesn't evolve over time.
right, I mean, because we need to gather the information, we need to figure out what's out there, what's needed, what can the district do, and then this position is going to evolve through those steps. And ultimately put the district in a position to, provide services to various entities and groups in the community, to help us push forward with the goals and objectives in the plan.
Right. So I wanted to comment that I thought it was interesting that you had job information from the 3 states on the West Coast that certainly are most advanced in terms of waste reduction.
Yes.
And
Well, at the
We-
last board meeting, the mayor pulled a reference to Palo Alto, so.
yes, okay.
Our
That's
sister city.
that's our sister
Yeah.
city,
Yeah. But we are hampered we are constrained in how we have to operate. Not in our ideas, but all those states have legislation that enables local communities to enact ordinances that help manage waste reduction.
Yeah, and you're right. And we've learned through various things that the city and county have tried, that the state will clamp down on things that they
The great-
feel are a
the
little
great plastic
too
bag.
restrictive or progressive, however you want to
Mhm.
look at it. But at the same time, we don't have that, that legislative or that legal leverage. But that doesn't mean that we can't go out and present and present it in a whether it's a cost saving method or in a environmental stewardship or
All of it.
we can't, that doesn't mean we can't go out and encourage or convince
yeah.
businesses to take a step
Right.
because it's cost benefit or it's the right thing to do or
But it-
whatever.
But when you recruit new businesses too, you talk about quality of life, and this feeds right into that quality of life.
I think we have come a long way in the last 20 years as far as businesses wanting to be green and wanting to
Mhm.
show their sustainability plans and all that.
Cook's willing to fund that free e-waste until the pandemic. That cost
Yeah.
them a big chunk of money. So
It was-
they're willing to
It
put
was
their wallet
wonderful.
where their mouth is, and why wouldn't they take on a little additional cost if it means we're diverting X% from the landfill or whatever? Hopefully it means they're saving money, but at least they've shown they're willing to spend money to do those things.
It's wild to go into a place where there are little packets for ketchup and the mustard. I mean, just little things like that as ways
I
to make
know.
a difference.
I remember when you used to be able to push the plunger down and get as much ketchup as you
Yeah.
wanted, and it didn't have.
Now, there are
those little packets.
organizations out there that say they recycle those.
Recycle the packets.
Yep.
Wow.
But also you walk away with some of that at
So,
times. and what
well,
happens.
right.
I
but
take
the-
it, I take it home and I try to use it. The little packets, try, instead of going for the ketchup bottle, use the packets first.
But then what do you do with
The empty packet.
It just gets thrown away.
But I guess my point is that, another thing that this position could look at, because it would, move toward waste production, is what things are out there that we don't have here right now that we could get here? What organization could we get to come here and offer their service that takes something out of the waste stream and recycles it, reuses it, does whatever?
Great. Fit one.
Yeah, I'll note that I think I like.
You need a
Sorry.
milk carton recycler.
I think Joe had a comment.
Oh. Yes, Joe?
Yeah, I do just want to note that I agree with all of those remarks about this sort of initial start condition of doing field research and outreach, more so than going straight to making recommendations. I think that's good to know sort of where everybody stands in the community and getting some more information about where we can make changes and maybe what trends there are within the community to help guide what recommendations are made going forward.
Thank you. That's good. So we're all still looking through these.
Yeah.
I will note in a general way that there is also an abundance of information available, in particular with food waste through ReFed, in terms of having information to present to generators. That's kind of generator independent, just common trends within the food waste world that I think could be a good starting kit for doing the outreach and starting those conversations that the district doesn't necessarily need to provide, or that the person who fills this position doesn't necessarily need to create before going out and doing outreach.
What was the source on that again?
It's ReFed, REFED. And I can put a link to some documentation in the chat as well.
Okay. Yeah, because there's absolutely no reason to have this position reinvent the wheel.
Right.
I guess that comes back to part, what I said earlier, what's out there that we don't currently have? And, and then of that, what can we get going here, whether that's through our own initiatives or bringing in out some organization that's not currently operating here into the area.
So next steps on the preparation for the October presentation of.
I mean, I am happy to, review this recording and, based on, the comments in this discussion, put a rough draft together that I think that we can all, and Joe, the CAC included, review and comment, and over the next month, have it, hopefully a good draft together that the committee can review at their next meeting, and hopefully say that let's present this to the board and see what they say.
Would you mind also reaching out to, like, I think of it as SPIA still, but the O'Neill School, to see if any of their graduates go into positions like this, that we can look at what some of their job descriptions and stuff are too. Because I could see this group hiring a SPIA grad into this. This would align with some of their interests, I would hope. I don't know.
Well, that brings me to the qualifications, and I think that it is important for someone applying for this job to have experience with community outreach. And I mean, a degree is helpful and would certainly add to the desirability of an applicant, but I think really the experience in interacting with various businesses and community groups is almost more important. So like somebody fresh out of O'Neill with a bachelor's degree
Would be fresh.
I don't know if that's going to cut it, because it also has to be somebody who can establish relationships and trust, and that takes experience, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that remark. And in the state of Washington Department of Ecology description, I thought it covered very well the specifics of that role in terms of being able to facilitate meetings and establish partnerships and have comfort doing those.
Yeah, in the Minneapolis one, it says one of the following: either a bachelor's degree and 6 months or more community outreach experience, or 4.5 years of experience of community outreach or project development coordination.
See, Cheryl, Minnesota, that's not on the West Coast.
I know, Minnesota.
I don't know how they
worked
got the 4.5 years. That was probably
don't
some
know.
I don't
compromise,
know.
on their committee, but yeah, something like this. So even with a degree, there should be some.
It may have been this one.
Minimum
One of them I cut off. One of them had 4 charts laying out the various combinations of education and experience that would qualify.
Man,
So
they
you-
really.
You have to go.
I mean, if you have 3 years of education, you need this much experience, 2 years of education, this
Yeah.
much, and this type of experience. And
I think the first hurdle then is if you understand the job qualifications and.
yeah,
Right.
then we can talk.
You made it. If you can place yourself on that chart, then you get the job.
Without throwing a dart.
Tom, I would
appreciate
just
that.
like to note.
Yeah.
Tom, to get us started. Sorry, Jeff.
Go ahead, Joe.
No, that's all right. There's a slight delay. I apologize. I'll try to be in person next time. That works a lot better. I was just going to note that the CAC did have a brief conversation on this topic at our May meeting. It was around 28 minutes and 30 seconds into the meeting, if anybody plans to watch the recording. But in short, I did just want to note, I'd already expressed here what I expressed during that meeting, but industry representative Ryan Conway also described, he said that the implementation of the 5-year plan is a job in and of itself, and that fluid communication and coordination across multiple bodies and institutions requires a lot of extra attention, and that it would be an important role for this particular position. He he said it would be good to have a single point of contact to act as a hub of communication because there are so many stakeholders involved. And that the position could also help move through the objectives of the 5-year management plan more quickly and effectively because we would get higher quality and faster feedback having it go through a single individual who's focused on it rather than having it pass through many heads or being divided among many tasks. So that was his thoughts that I will contribute here as well during the discussion.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I vaguely recall that discussion.
That's why I referenced the recording of the time because I reviewed my notes and the video as well to make sure that I had it accurate.
So other steps are you're going to get us the job description.
I
Or
will work next week to get a rough draft of that
Okay.
together and hopefully by the end of the week can get that
Okay.
emailed out for people to comment, provide suggestions on.
Do you think it's up to date, or do you think you will want to be editing the?
At least it's-
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, we wanted
Oh,
the
it-
job
Education
description of that.
specialist, yeah.
I will probably need some editing because
Okay.
I don't think we've done anything with it since before the pandemic. And now with some of the new initiatives from the
Yeah.
pandemic, we probably want to make reference to those in her job description.
Do you want to send us a track changes edited
I
job
can-
description? That'd be great. Okay.
Now, what about the other new position?
The other one, that's I talked with Lee and Joey a little bit about that. Joey unfortunately is out on is on vacation. He's going on a cruise next week.
Oh.
Must be
Good
nice.
for
Oh.
him, I hope.
Yeah.
I
but,
don't know, it seems like it's about,
Scary times to be going on. cruises,
yes,
I
it's
don't know.
Yeah,
about a
but I've-
50-50 shot
I've
these
told-
days.
I've done the same thing that we need to have a good draft of a job description for the October board meeting, so that I'm gonna be less, or I'm gonna be more reluctant to give the board input on that position versus as compared to this position. But certainly want the board to have an opportunity to review and comment on that before they would approve a salary ordinance with that position in it.
So that's gonna be split between the South Walnut
gonna-
facility and,
Well, specifically the
Yeah.
household hazardous waste facility, and then, just kind of a catch-all assistant for Lee and Mary Beth. Kind of envisioning a lot of the roadside cleanups would fall onto that position. Kind of need to talk with Lee and Mary Beth as far as exactly, what would be the duties and expectations at the landfill and with dealing with private property compliance issues. But
so who would they report to?
Lee and Joey.
So they would have two bosses. That's tricky.
It's
It is,
tricky.
Because then you get,
And it would depend on the task, coordinating things like time off and stuff would, be a little more of a challenge with the two of them, but Lee and Joey seem to think that they can accommodate it. They both agree that, the position's gonna split time between the two departments, but that doesn't mean 20 hours a week here and 20 hours a week there. It may be 30 and 10, it may be 40 and 0. A lot of it's just gonna depend on
The
what's
work at
going
hand.
on at a given
Yeah.
time. And, we get compliance cases get reported and move forward at different rates. Sometimes you get a rush of materials and household hazardous waste, and other times there'll be a lull in what gets dropped off. So those hours won't necessarily always be an even split, but they both seem
That
to.
worries me a little bit, because what if it's a busy time both for compliance and for household hazardous waste, and then this person's gonna be torn in two directions?
Well, they would, and they would handle that the same way that we do now, even without that extra set of hands, and you prioritize things. I mean, like compliance, roadside compliance issues that are in the road or, on a hill or at an intersection. I mean, those take a priority because they pose a
Mhm.
safety hazard to drive. If we have an electronic shipment ready to go out and we don't have everything processed, then that becomes a priority. But we manage those things now without that extra set of hands. Part of the rationale for the position is some of the things that are changing in HHW on the vendor side. They're starting to put more of the burden on
on you.
us with regard to the prepping the materials for whatever process they're going to go through when the vendor gets them. So there's we're getting into some more time, more labor intensive work, managing some of the things that come through HHW.
What is the title of that position? Do you have the title yet?
Labor. It's probably gonna be, no, I guess, no, we don't. I mean, it's good. HHW compliance assistant or something to that effect.
They've got a lot on their plate right
Well, yeah, they do. And again, it's going to depend on how much of that is private property versus just,
Yeah.
on a,
Running out and getting it.
yeah. Because, and then, yeah, the private property stuff, that's, rely a lot on Mary Beth and where are things at, who,
Mhm.
where is, what is her comfort level with this person dealing with the property owner?
Mhm.
Some of these are not always the most congenial situations. And there's times that there's times that, Lee goes with her. I mean, because we don't want
Yeah.
one person alone at this property.
Mhm.
That's just
Very
the
often that.
reality of
Mhm.
that job.
And dangerous quickly, unfortunately.
So tell us more what Mary Beth encounters when she goes to talk to a property owner. So we
Depends on
understand.
the property owner.
Yeah, but she is, what is she saying? When
What is
gets
she,
there?
what is she saying?
Mhm.
I mean, well, I guess it depends on whether or not they answer the door.
Yeah.
Some of them won't answer the door and then she winds up having to say it through a letter, but
Yeah.
basically it's, I'm seeing this, this and this, and here are, here's the county ordinance, and this is what the violation is, and this is what needs to be done to correct that.
If you don't mind me asking, what would be violations that led to that point?
But an accumulation of things that are defined by the state as solid waste on the property, that
Mhm.
Okay.
state law and county ordinance prohibit those things from,
Uh-huh.
Accumulating.
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay.
And,
Which is, it makes sense. It's obvious, but some people don't take care of
she's,
their stuff. So.
I mean, she's been on properties where meth's being cooked.
Well, I mean, I would.
Well, and we, well, yeah, and when, we don't know that when the report comes in, but, she gets out there and
And
sees something, smells something, and
Smells
we'll make the
something.
referral to the sheriff.
Yeah, that would be the point to get away and
We've had,
turn it over to
we've
somebody else.
requested, a deputy accompany her to properties before.
I mean, the dogs is what really
And
gets
guns.
me.
Well, and yes.
Well,
And I personally love dogs, but some dogs aren't taught to be nice, so
Right.
that can be a problem.
Mary Beth has never reported to me that she has seen a gun, but the threats have been made.
Mhm.
When I worked in that department, I saw a gun, never had one pulled on me, but made sure that they answered the door with it holstered and that I saw it.
Right?
But it's been some time, but I can't say that somebody in that position has never had a gun pulled on them. I can't say that.
Thank
But I know that
goodness.
it's happened. So it has
So
happened.
far.
So, but she's not imposing any fines.
Yes, she
is
will.
She is imposing fines.
That is never the first step. You know,
Okay, so I just
The-
wanted to
the-
understand this better.
yeah, the approach is, the goal is to correct the violation and get the property cleaned up. And, you know, you use, you know, the threat of a fine is leverage. But the issuing the fine is a last resort. You just get to the point, this person is not going to cooperate. They're
And
not going to
who-
make an effort.
And who issues the fine?
She issues the fine, or Lee, whoever's
Mhm.
handling the case. And then it gets filed with the treasurer's office, and the collection of it is all handled through the county. And the proceeds unfortunately go to county general. So we're making you guys money.
I don't think you're making us that much.
No, it's not that much.
But we could use it for a new waste reduction special.
Now we did-
There you go.
we did,
Good idea.
this is, I guess, a good opportunity to we just went through a new situation. I guess maybe not new, but it's been a long time, where we just did a court-ordered cleanup. So we funded that. And county attorney's office is supposed to be putting a lien on the property. But because it's something, you know, new, at least new to current staff, we didn't have an existing relationship with anybody to get this done, where they were gonna give us an account, bill us. So in the next month or two, you're gonna see a $5,000 credit card charge for fire dogs.
Yes, I've seen them.
That's
For
the-
fire dogs?
Fire dogs.
Fire dogs, they're firefighters who, I guess, in their off time,
Well, yeah.
haul off
it's
people's,
Veterans and
It's
firefighters, retired firefighters, and they do, you know, property remediations from, you know, they, like I said, they did
I'm
this cleanup for
hoping
us.
to have them take a
And
little
so
bit
the
of stuff
county
away from my
cleans
house.
things up and then bills the property owner.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, we're supposed to get a lien put on the property so
Yes.
they can pay it off, if they can pay it off, or if they were to sell the property, we get our money off the proceeds of that sale,
Mhm.
before they get their proceeds of the sale. But,
Mhm. Okay.
So this is the first case of that.
yeah, the first time that in 19 years I've ever done it.
It's quite a hefty bill.
So
It's cheaper than we thought it would be.
I dealt with one case a number of years ago, not through the district, but through the health department, because there was a terrible smell and it was affecting an adjacent property that was used by the community. And it was certainly terrible on other adjacent properties that were residences, but they were not complaining. It was the community facility that was horrified by this, and the health department did help get that finally taken.
Well, it
Yeah.
was good to get this one done. And they was, fire dogs actually came in under what they estimated. Cleanup when they looked at the property. So we thought,
So we
Not by a
pay
great
for fire dogs, but then does any of the money come back to the district from the
the county
lien?
attorney has promised us that we will get all of that money if the lien is ever paid. But the lien has to be paid.
The lien has to be paid.
Wait, why would we get that money, but we don't get other fines?
Well, because the fines are done through the Ordinance Violations Bureau. And this is an expense that we
Oh,
incurred.
Just
Yeah.
get the money to pay fire dogs.
Yeah, this is, because
So
this
we
is
may
an
never see it.
ex, well, hopefully the house changes hands at some point in time.
Or the county.
And county get it as a tax.
Tax sale.
But so I'm curious to see how it goes. I'm glad we got the property cleaned up, but I'm leery of the setup, and that if this becomes a more common practice and these things get bigger and worse, it.
We don't have a
Yeah.
fire dog line in the budget.
Well, yeah, or yeah, how many $20,000 cleanups can we absorb into our budget? And,
Exactly.
and
$20,000?
this one was 5, but if they start to get bigger and get worse, and
And people are not
you know, and it's not something you can necessarily budget for. We can't say, well, we're gonna have
So,
two
yeah,
quarterly cleanups this year for $10,000.
but the same thing would be the case if it was something handled under the health department too.
Well, I know, and I get that, and, you know, but then, you know, you're funding these things and you're putting the liens on the properties and you know, no guarantees and what time frame you're gonna get that money back. And,
Right.
I know that, you know, $5,000-$10,000 isn't going to cripple us. We have the reserves. It's not that,
Yeah.
but we're setting precedents, and if things get out of hand, I worry where it leads. But
Other people, we will not let this go.
well, right,
Here's how we behave.
we're gonna, the court's gonna tell us to come clean it up if you don't do it.
And it'll cost you money.
Yeah, but people in that situation are probably at a point in their life where it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Their life is so unraveled that they're like, whatever.
That, I agree with that, but also some people are just lazy.
And
in this- in this
particular
It might incentivize them. I don't know.
in this particular instance, the owner of the house did, you know, made little efforts here and there that kept Mary Beth from issuing a fine and whatnot, but not enough that the legal proceedings didn't
Too little, too
continue.
late, huh?
And when the time came to go do the property cleanup with the court order, he was in jail.
Well, I think that was a good number 9, all other items deemed appropriate.
Okay.
Are there any other number 9? And it was good for us to know more about this, I think,
Yeah.
because it's part of what the district does, and we didn't have a good handle on it.
Well, I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that one particular cleanup so that when the board sees that $5,000 credit card charge, somebody's gonna ask, and you, and the three of you can say, we know what that
We
is.
know, oh, fire, guys.
I
They
always
spell it
appreciate knowing.
DAWGS, yes. Fire.
CAWGS. I've
Yeah.
seen it there.
Oh,
Yeah,
I've
I
seen it
have
right
too.
around.
I'll
I-
correct it in my notes.
They- This was,
Oh.
and I don't know if you guys remember, this was a court order deal, but we were involved in a case out on Brummets Creek Road, where the family stepped in and hired fire dogs to go clean it up, and the resident shot at him.
Not with the fire
And that
dogs.
made the news and stuff a few months ago. So,
Why would you hire someone and then shoot at them?
well,
Well, the family member.
yeah, this was a property that was owned by a family trust.
Oh,
And the one family member that was living there was not in agreement with how things were proceeding, but the rest of the family said, we want to clean it up before this winds up in court and gets ugly, and so they,
I mean, I only laugh because if I don't laugh, I'm gonna cry.
I mean, thankfully, nobody was hurt.
People shouldn't treat each other like
but,
that. It's just wrong.
But, you know, those are, like I said, and that was a property that we were involved in, and that's just another one of the types of situations we deal with.
Now, before we close, could I ask that you forward to us the scanned version of what you handed out?
Sure.
That would be really nice
Yeah.
to keep in my files that way.
Okay.
Thanks. So anything else? Then we will be adjourned, and thank you everyone for your Friday afternoon
Yes.
time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you,
you,
Joe.
Joe. Yes. Take care, everyone.
Hi, Joe.
Bye-bye.
So I noticed on the agenda, it also said we were starting at 5 PM.